The office party was alive with chatter, laughter, and the steady clink of glasses. Yet, the moment I stepped in, something felt wrong. I had been dreading this night all week. Not because of work itself, but because I knew my wife, Lisa, would be there, moving and mingling in ways I hadn't seen before. Lately, she had been distant. Secretive phone calls, longer hours at the office, and a smile I had once believed was only mine, now reserved for someone else. My stomach tightened as I navigated through the crowd, nodding and chatting with colleagues while my gaze kept drifting to her. And then I saw it. There she was, laughing, not politely, not casually, but in a way that drew attention, a laugh meant for someone else. Her hand rested lightly on her co-worker Mark's arm. Her body leaned just slightly toward him, and her eyes sparkled with light I had never witnessed at home. She flicked her hair back with a confident, seductive motion, and my chest constricted, as though someone had squeezed it with invisible hands. I froze, not out of confusion, but because the sheer weight of what I was witnessing left me paralyzed. Time slowed. The music that had been energetic became nothing more than background noise. Conversations, laughter, everything around us faded, leaving only the tension pressing against my chest. I could feel every subtle gesture she made, every fleeting glance, every touch she allowed. The man she sat with laughed, oblivious to how far he had crossed the line. And I, after months of simmering unease, did nothing. I didn't storm over. I didn't yell. I simply watched, letting the full force of her betrayal settle between us. I could have caused a scene. I knew that. I could have marched across the room, shouted her name, or dragged her away. But that would have been predictable, satisfying only her need for control. No, this had to be handled differently. My silence would be my weapon. Calmness, I realized, would cut deeper than any outburst ever could. As I stood there, I noticed cracks forming in her facade. Even before I acted, minutes stretched like hours. She twirled her wine glass, laughing at something Mark whispered, her fingers brushing his arm again. Every laugh, every flirt, every carefree gesture was a knife twisting in my chest. And yet, I remained still, composed, silent. I let her believe she held the upper hand, that she could flaunt her behavior without consequence. The power she imagined over me was temporary, and I was about to reveal the truth in a way she would never forget. I moved slowly through the crowd, positioning myself so my presence was felt without a word. Colleagues greeted me casually, unaware of the tension simmering just feet away. My eyes locked on hers, noting every twitch, every flicker of panic behind her confident gaze. She laughed again, trying to hide the slight tremor in her hand, the tightening of her jaw. Her performance was unraveling, and she didn't even realize it yet. Finally, I stepped closer deliberately, letting her sense a shift in energy. Mark noticed too. He straightened awkwardly, unsure how to respond to the silent storm beside him. Then I leaned just enough for her to hear and whispered a single, chilling sentence. "I see everything." It wasn't a shout. It wasn't accusatory. Calm, deliberate, it landed with surgical precision. The confident smile she had cultivated over weeks vanished instantly, her cheeks drained of color. Suddenly, she was on the defensive. The room fell silent. People nearby sensed the tension and slowed their conversations, turning to watch. Panic surged in her eyes like a rising tide. Mark froze, suddenly aware the dynamic had shifted entirely. Every movement she had made to appear untouchable was now under scrutiny. Even without understanding the full story, everyone could sense the shift. She tried to laugh it off, a brittle, high-pitched sound that lacked conviction. Her fingers shook subtly as she lifted her glass, her eyes darting around for an escape. My chest, still tight from betrayal, loosened slightly as I realized the power I held without acting physically. Every confident, smug thought she had about flaunting her flirting in front of me had backfired spectacularly. Eventually, she excused herself, heading toward the bathroom with her head slightly bowed. I followed casually, maintaining just enough distance to let her feel the weight of consequences. The look in her eyes was unmistakable. Panic, shame, confusion, fear. She was beginning to understand that the game she thought she was playing, the power she believed she held, It was gone. Not stolen, not taken by force, but dismantled quietly, elegantly, completely. By the end of the night, her composure had vanished. Colleagues who had laughed at her jokes now kept polite distance. Her fake confidence held no sway. The truth was simple. I had seen everything, understood everything, and chosen to respond in a way she never anticipated. Her few weak remarks fell flat. Deep down, she knew her betrayal had been observed, catalogued, and silently punished by the calm, unwavering presence of someone finally awake to the truth. When we left the party, I didn't yell. I didn't call her out publicly. I drove in silence, letting her stew in her thoughts. The quiet devastation on her face was far more effective than any confrontation could have been. Her world had flipped, her confidence stripped, her composure shattered. It was all because I had chosen patience, observation, and the subtle art of silence.